Oh, let me stop like screaming so much. All right, we're here. Did you guys make it? Did it work? 2% made it. Congratulations. Oh no, we got 900 people. All right, good.
Yeah,
Please subscribe to the channel, guys.
Behind this person, and I'm just
For the people that aren't.
quick. I want to see if they've swapped. No, so it's still LAPD's
like a pickup truck
division in pursuit of this driver. But we did hear that CHP was requested. Now that request comes in because the driver's on the freeway, and the CHP is the police of our freeway systems here in California. So they're going to be best equipped to handle the chase on the freeway. But this guy may be getting off here soon, perhaps.
Wild.
Perhaps not. It looked like he was going to exit there, but he's just driving on the shoulder here to get past some of the slower moving traffic.
Ooh, swerving. Oh, it caught up semi-truck.
Yeah, so at this point, they're just going to continue to follow because something like a pit maneuver is just out of the equation with these speeds and with these many cars on the roadway. It's just not possible. Another possibility is a spike strip, but they would have to pretty much guess what lane is this person going to be in order to deploy a spike strip in front of them. And so at this point, your guess is as good as mine. This guy has been all over the roadway using every lane possible just to get by. So at this point, all officers can really do is just continue to follow this from the ground and the air, but it could get to the point where they decide to go into surveillance mode, which would be helicopter only, and just get those units to back off. And hopefully, if the driver doesn't see any units behind him or her, they're going to think that they're no longer being pursued, and they'll slow their roll and just drive normally, and perhaps even just pull over, get out of the car, and that's when police can swoop in.
I always feel so badly for these other drivers on the road right now. We just saw it. You know, this driver's been aggressively coming up behind other drivers and then sort of swerving lanes. And now perhaps exiting or just driving on the shoulder again, which is also so extremely dangerous.
Yeah, driving on the shoulder there. And my pilot, Jim, was just telling me that they may be canceling the pursuit is what he's hearing over his helicopter radios. So I honestly am not surprised because this is essentially a property crime. It's a stolen car. And of course, that's unfortunate for whoever owns this vehicle. But you have to really weigh your options. Is it worth it to continue to chase somebody's property, essentially, and possibly put lives at risk? So at this point, it seems like the police department is going to go with just letting this person go for now, and hopefully they'll be able to get them at some other point because at this point it's just too dangerous.
Yeah, we can tell how antsy the driver is when they got pinned in, just sort of weaving back and forth. And Eliana, they do have an airship overhead so they can continue to monitor this, maybe without the driver being so aware of it.
Yeah, correct. So the helicopter, even though you don't see a night sun, they would be able to just keep an eye on it and just let officers in the area know that the vehicle is coming their way, but without it being officially a pursuit. So that is an option. Essentially, pretty much like what we're doing now. We're just continuing to keep our eye on it without this being an active pursuit. But it seems like it's working. I mean, he's at least slowing down a little bit. He's about 30 miles an hour, probably not by choice because there's just a lot of traffic, but at least we're not seeing as many erratic lane changes as he continues eastbound on the 60 freeway. Next freeway coming up is going to be the 605.
It's always so challenging, though, I would imagine, to know when to pull back because at least when the officers are behind, other drivers have some sense of warning about what's going on. You know, the other drivers can hear lights and sirens and maybe react accordingly. Now you have this driver who's continuing to kind of weave and make some erratic moves, albeit not as bad as we saw earlier.
Yeah, so this is a lot better than what we saw. But yeah, you're completely right. When you see those units chasing the vehicle or when you see the spotlight from the helicopter, it at least lets you know that this is a pursuit and I should probably move out of the way. But in this case, there's really no indication for anybody else on the road to know that this person was just in a vehicle pursuit. But it looks like they're setting up to go on the 605. So let's see if they make a change here at the very last second. But for now, setting up to get onto the 605 freeway. And just a little bit more info. This may actually be a woman who's behind the wheel, is what we're hearing. Possible female driver, but unknown number of occupants inside.
Okay, very interesting. We heard first reckless driving, and then we heard the stolen pickup truck, but we didn't really know how many people were in the truck. But you're saying now possibly one woman as the driver of this truck.
Correct. Yeah, that's the initial information that's coming in, is that it's possibly a woman, but unknown if there's anybody in there with her. She is setting up for the 605 North, and my pilot, James Pollard, is of course able to talk to all of the police helicopters up here, and so he's hearing that a new police helicopter is coming to the pursuit, and they're going to keep tabs on this driver, who fortunately has slowed down significantly here, and now getting onto the northbound 605 from the 60.
And Eliana, just give us a sense of how far away are you? Because I know you're really able to zoom in. That looks like a night sun now, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's a night sun, but I'll show you how far we are. So that's basically the end of my lens.
Gotcha.
So we're pretty far here. I'm going to zoom back in here on the car, just so I don't lose it here, because they are driving a lot more normally. I mean, pretty much with the flow of traffic here, about 50, 55 miles an hour, northbound on the 605 freeway, north of the 60. And fortunately, even though the night sun is on the vehicle, it seems like this person is still driving relatively calm compared to what we first witnessed. But there's not going to be any units behind the vehicle, because of course when there were units behind the car, that's really when this person got desperate. But lots of traffic here, so let's see if some of that desperation starts to set in once again.
Yeah, you are seeing a lot of traffic, but it does seem that what the authorities are doing, backing off and not, being right on the tail of this truck, has eased it. So now they would just follow it with the helicopter and then
Yeah, so at this point, with it being a stolen car, they really don't know who this person is. Normally, they could just run the plates on a vehicle and you'd get back the registered owner's information. So you'd get some information in that sense. But in this case, they don't know who's behind the wheel. The windows are very darkly tinted, so that makes it really difficult to see, at least from the side view here. Perhaps from the front, it's a little bit more clearer, and perhaps that's when they realized that it was a woman driver. But they don't know at this point if anybody else is in the car. I do notice there's a few things there in the back of the truck, equipment of some sort, hard to tell. But it's also unclear how long this person has had this vehicle. Is this a vehicle that they've been driving?
I'm muted, thanks. I didn't realize. Thank you so much.
Pretty much as if they
My channel still doesn't show up. When you search live police chase incognito,
they were able to hop in the vehicle and
it's like pages down. It's so weird that the algorithm works like that. Like, nobody can find my shit.
But for now, it's a helicopter-only pursuit here northbound
That's annoying
on
as
the
hell.
605, north of the 60 freeway coming up to Valley Boulevard. Oh yeah, they will notify CHP, and they can do exactly that. It's something called the Code 100, where they let the CHP units go up ahead, because there may even be an opportunity to deploy a spike strip, especially if this person stays in the same lane the way that they have been here for the last couple miles. It really would be a great opportunity to do that. At this point, a pit maneuver is still out of the question, just because the speeds are too high, and obviously the roads are just far too busy. But they could also run a traffic brake. That could actually help to slow down the driver even more. So they do have a few options that the CHP could assist with without actively being in pursuit.
What's up, everybody? Welcome. You can't find me anymore. I don't know what is going on. It's so annoying. iCkEdMeL, if you click live on YouTube tab, it does come up. But what I'm talking about is people that aren't subscribed. People that are searching for police chases on YouTube, they'll never find my channel.
Pull that spike strip right in time to be able to get the driver to run over the strip. And even then, it won't immediately disable the vehicle. It will slowly start to deflate those tires. And depending on how many tires the car has, that could go on for quite some time. I remember covering a big rig pursuit where it literally took about 12 hours, even after running over spike strips, just because of the number of tires. But a smaller vehicle like this would deploy
you got notified?
quickly. But again, northbound on the 605 here, and the 605 will come to an end. It comes to an end at the 210, so this driver will have to make a choice when we get that far. But for now, entering Baldwin Park here, with the police helicopter still in pursuit. Yeah, but picking up a little bit of speed, I'm noticing. So now we're getting into the 80s or so. But traffic, as you said, isn't as bad.
Somebody got notified.
I do notice that there's like an exit coming up here, and I'm not exactly sure which one it might be, but it is coming up here very soon. It might actually be Ramona Boulevard, where I do see a lot of traffic right at the off-ramp. So we'll see if that slows her down here for at least a minute here as we enter now Irwindale. So here's that exit I was just talking about. I could see that there was a lot of traffic there just waiting to exit, but she's staying further to the left here, so that's really not going to be a factor at this point. But again, this started out in the Hollenbeck division of the LAPD. That's essentially the Boyle Heights, East LA area. We first heard about it on surface streets. The driver was on Whittier Boulevard, which is a very busy street. And she was able to work her way over to the 60 freeway where she jumped on the 60 East. I was really nervous, actually, because initially police officers on the scanner had said 60 West, which I knew was going to take her over to that freeway closure on the 10 freeway. So I was really nervous about that, but fortunately it was just a mistake, and she was actually going eastbound on the 60 and has made her way now onto the northbound 605 and is now in Irwindale.
I wonder if I messed up changing a channel name from iCkEdMeL CC to Live Chase, Live Police Chase. Anyway, it's a pretty wild chase so far. I think the wanted is a stolen vehicle. And M says suggest peeps go to the subscription page and see if you have a red dot for being live. Okay, I'm gonna make that email list too. Maybe over the weekend or something. I'll work on. Yeah, females really holding it down this year, huh?
Not since they backed those units off of the LAPD. They backed those units off. It's really gotten a lot better. And I'm just going to quickly say I am now hearing that CHP is the agency that is in pursuit. I just found it on the scanner. So it is CHP Baldwin Park that is now actively in pursuit of this vehicle, but helicopter only.
Wow. Another lady, man. You got notified? Okay. You were notified too? I saw that G95.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
they're
another
ready
page.
to get behind the vehicle if need be. So the helicopter continues to make calls so that the rest of the officers in their squad cars know where this pursuit is and are able to get behind the vehicle if they authorize for units to get behind the car. But for now, they're going to do helicopter only because it seems to be working. And the driver has slowed down significantly, as we've seen from the crazy driving we saw initially to what we're seeing now. It's a big change, and it's a change for the better. But of course, they just want this person to pull over.
57. Whoa. Using turning signals. Maybe they got the week. You shared it on X. Thank you. Thank you, Nonstop Mom. Gracias. You'll be having tamales for Thanksgiving? Yeah, Thanksgiving's coming up. What a busy day, huh, so far? She can't bark it.
Copy that. Telemundo.
Oh. Bienvenidos. Gracias por estar mirando. Another smoking scan for a chase and came to your channel. I don't understand why these people show up, but I don't. Ever since I changed the channel name, I think it screwed something up in the algorithm. And I'm afraid to even change it back. Like, what if I screw something up again? My thing is like on the 4th page down. Not even. 6 pages. That's crazy. If you type in Live Police Chase iCkEdMeL, it pops up. Yeah, that's semi truck decked out. Look at that. What is it, like purple lights and shit? Inside the driver's side and under the truck. Bienvenidos. I like flan. It's really sugary, a lot of sugar. Doing 60, zipping by. I wonder how much. I guess it's like a pickup, like a, I don't know, is it an old Chevy?
Thank you to everyone who continues to watch here online on
getting
WCLA.com
off now?
and all of our streaming platforms.
Oh, he's
I'm
getting
Eliana
off.
Marino and Yashar Lepore, alongside my pilot James Pollard. And we are following this police pursuit of a possible stolen car that is on the 210 freeway, possibly exiting here at Mountain Avenue.
Thank you, Raging Cajun. Appreciate that. True. Maybe that's what it is too. Maybe all the way iCkEdMeL at the end. Having iCkEdMeL so far in the back of the name makes me overlook the videos. Ah. Yeah, my mother's gonna cook.
Yeah, back with you guys here. And just as we were coming on air here, the driver exited from the westbound 210 freeway onto Mountain Avenue. So she was traveling on the northbound 605 and made that transition to go westbound on the 210 and pretty much immediately jumped off the 210 and is now on surface streets just under the 210 freeway now. We'll wait for her to pop out the other side, but I'm going to keep a wide shot because I don't want her to fool me because she might just U-turn and come out the other end. But at this point, still under the freeway from what we can tell. You've, of course, got the police helicopter overhead. He's putting the night sun where he last saw the car, but I can't tell you how many police pursuits we've covered where this is where they end. The driver will ditch the car under the freeway, take off running, or sometimes some people do have really good friends, or really bad friends in this case, who will meet them under the freeway and will give them a ride out of the situation that they've gotten themselves into. But this person apparently just stayed there for a moment and is now headed back onto the 210 freeway here, possibly. This looks like it's going to be the on-ramp, but I'm actually wondering if she dropped people off while she was under the freeway, because again, it was unclear how many people were in the car.
It's kind of weird. She was there for long.
We were told it was a female driver, but police didn't know if anyone else was in there with her. I'm wondering if that minute that she spent under the freeway was enough time for some of her passengers to jump out of the car.
Driving slower now, though. So, why steal this vehicle? Just opportunity? Yes. It get chased. Dumped their drugs.
Yeah, just make it a little bit easier to find.
This is live, Amy.
Stuff in the back, and you can notice that there's obviously damage
thank you so
to
much.
the window.
Appreciate the memberships.
On the driver's side rear there, you see the tape just around that window. So there's just certain elements about this car that really stand out. And of course, what's most helpful out of everything is that night sun here from the police helicopter that continues to light up this vehicle. And again, no units behind the car. There were units initially, though. When my pilot Jim and I arrived overhead, there were a number of units of the LAPD's Hollenbeck division that were in pursuit. But this person was driving so erratically that officers simply had to back off. And for a moment, they did officially terminate the pursuit. They had backed everyone off, including the helicopter, but a helicopter was eventually called back to the scene, so this has been a helicopter pursuit only since. That doesn't mean that there aren't ground units waiting to swoop in if this comes to an end. All of the officers who patrol this area, who are on the ground, are being advised of the vehicle's location so that if the car were to stop, officers can move in for the arrest.
Yeah, you can see the driver making some lane changes there, but we're not seeing the speeds that we saw earlier, or like you said, the erratic driving. Another thing we notice is you really can't see in the windows at all, so we haven't been able to see any activity inside the truck. As you said, just a lot of objects in the back of that bed. Again, this a stolen pickup truck. That's the report that's coming in, but reckless driving as well. And we've seen some close calls. Again, here another lane change, Ileana.
Yeah, and just real quickly, I want to say it looked like she was set up to stay on the 210, and at the very last second made that change to go back on the southbound 605. So we're essentially going to go back towards the area where this began, I'm thinking, because she's essentially just reversing course here. So back on the southbound 605 this time around. So going to be passing by all of those areas that we passed by before. The first one, of course, being Irwindale here. But speeds have slowed down a lot, which is a good thing. We're looking at speeds less than freeway speeds. Traffic isn't bad either. I'm just looking up ahead. She's only going slow right now because she's behind a big rig, but really she has every other lane she could pick, because really traffic through this area at this time is not that bad. It usually gets worse as you approach the 5 freeway, but we've still got a long ways to go before we get that far.
Do you think it's obvious to the driver that the night sun from the helicopter is shining down, or might she just think, well, I've got some good visibility out here?
Yeah, I would think that she would know that this is a police helicopter that is shining the light. And when she did get under the freeway there, back under the 210 freeway, when she was under there, the police helicopter got even lower than he normally would fly. So that would have been a dead giveaway for her to know that she's being followed at least via helicopter. But of course, no ground units directly behind. So what is essentially called surveillance mode is working. Usually when a driver is driving too erratically, the watch commander will determine if it's best to just back those squad cars off and let the helicopter do it alone, in hopes that the driver will slow down. And we have witnessed that this, at least in this particular case, it does appear to be working, because the driver is at least staying in one lane for the most part, and speeds are, of course, a little more reasonable.
Yeah, speeds are, now ticking up just a little bit, but definitely we're right along with what you would expect in normal traffic. People certainly do drive this fast on the freeways, especially heading home after a day's work. I'm just wondering if we're going backwards now, if we're doing what we've done so many times before and heading back to where it all started.
Yeah, typically what we've noticed just with police pursuit behavior from some of the people that are involved in these things is that they tend to return to an area that is familiar to them. And when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. When you go back to an area that you know well, you're not going to drive accidentally into a dead end. You may have friends or family that live in the area where you could ditch the car and take off running into a house. You're going to know where the parking structures are where you could also ditch the car and take off running. So it does give you more opportunity to try to get away. So we do notice that that happens quite often. At this point, if that's the goal, she is headed back in that direction, headed southbound out here on the 605. But my pilot, Jim, was just saying, because the police pursuit's out his side, so he often has a better vantage point of it than I do, and he says he does see a CHP unit getting behind the car, and here you go. So exactly what he said would happen is what we're seeing now. That unit is behind the vehicle, but they don't have their code 3 lights on, which is their lights and sirens here. They're just trailing the vehicle about, I'd say maybe 1/8 of a mile behind.
And how often do you see them do that, switch from overhead to trailing behind but no lights?
Yeah. So usually it would be very rare once they turn their lights on for them to turn them off, but it could be a situation where that CHP officer may have been rolling what's called code 3 with lights and sirens on just to get to the pursuit. But now that he found the car, he figured he can turn them off, because perhaps they are still in what's called this surveillance mode, and he just wants to be able to trail a little bit closer in case the person does ditch the car. But at this point, that single unit is the only one that we're seeing, but it does not have its lights on.
And is now quite a distance back, Eliana, the CHP unit?
Yeah, quite a distance back. I haven't seen him since they exited the freeway, so let me see. Oh yeah, there he is. So still about the same distance. It's the car that's at the bottom of the screen, so I'd say about 1/8 of a mile of a distance. So at this point, this driver probably doesn't even recognize that that's a police car, because the distance is great enough to where they just wouldn't know.
And I would assume that CHP has units ready to respond at a moment's notice. Say if the driver does decide to ditch the vehicle, were to get in an accident, if anything brought this to an end or just decided to give up, they would have units on site within seconds or minutes.
Oh, absolutely. So what's happening is the police helicopter is, of course, the one that's in pursuit, but they're constantly calling out the locations that the vehicle is at so that units in the area are able to swoop in when the vehicle comes to a stop. In this case, we're off the freeway now, but we're in Almonte. Oh, wrong side of the road here. Yeah, so wrong side of the road. I'm going to wind out here for just a sec. Oh, yeah, and there were cars coming right at him. Wow, good thing he moved. Oh, but gosh, I was saying we're in Almonte now.
That driver was driving in the center divide for some time, and that always makes me nervous when I see cars doing that, and then just moved over to the wrong side of the road. Yeah,
crazy. That really could have been a close call there, but fortunately was able to move back over right in time. But what I was just about to say was that we're in El Monte now, so that does possibly bring in El Monte police into the equation. They may not get actively in the pursuit, but they are going to be notified as well that this pursuit is coming into their jurisdiction so that they can be ready to bounce if the vehicle were to come to a stop, so that they can assist perhaps with the arrest, and if not with the arrest, at least with traffic control. But for now, we're actually in a residential area of El Monte, which is really interesting to me because if you are not familiar with this area, I don't think this is where you'd be. There's a lot of narrow streets here, lots of possible dead ends. So that leads me to believe that perhaps this person is from this area or is at least familiar with this area, and that's why they're now driving here through El Monte.
Looked like they just flipped the high beams on too, because earlier it seemed almost as though the driver was using the parking lights. There was very little illumination from the front, but you know, Eliana, this always makes you nervous too when you see a driver picking up speeds like this on city streets.
Absolutely, and then obviously pedestrians are one of the things we're most nervous about, people just out and about, and with this person running red lights and running stop signs, that really does make for a more dangerous situation, which is typically why I personally, if we're going to have a pursuit, I'd rather have it on the freeway. It does take out some of those factors, but look at this. We now have two units of the California Highway Patrol with their lights and sirens back behind the vehicle in active pursuit here at Peck Road and Bryant Road in the city of El Monte.
Yes, and you have to wonder if it's because of exactly what you said. This makes it a more dangerous situation, or they just want it. Now they figure that they can possibly get the driver to stop or somehow end this pursuit. It's going to be interesting to see what they do right now, because Eliana, we saw earlier when they had vehicles behind them, when they had the authorities behind them, that really ramped up the situation and they started driving more erratically.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a feeling that this person will start to drive a little more crazy now that these units are behind him, because that's what we witnessed before. So I would think that same behavior would repeat itself. But when she had the helicopter only, she was relatively calm. But now look at this, running red lights. This is what we're so worried about, that at least she cleared the intersection there pretty well. And there was already one unit of the El Monte Police Department that was at the intersection with its lights on. So at least people knew to slow down. But my concern is that she's going to hit something if she continues to run here through red lights and stop signs in the El Monte area.
How close are we to any freeways potentially for this driver to get back on a freeway?
We're jumping on one right now, Marilyn. You called it. There you go. So jumping on the freeway right now. I believe this is going to be the 605, but I'll confirm as soon as she completes the transition here. But I believe this is going to be it's either going to be the 60 or the 605. I'm a little bit turned around here. Let me throw this on real quick. It's actually going to be the 10. I stand corrected. So with all those twists and turns right under me, I lost count of where we were. But she's actually jumping on the 10 freeway. So jumping on the 10 freeway, we're in El Monte. And she's been on the 60 before. She's been on the 605 and the 210, but never the 10. So this is our first time here getting onto the 10 freeway, and she is headed westbound on the 10. Now, you don't need me to tell you that the 10 freeway is closed. The 10 freeway is closed in the downtown LA area. We still have quite a bit of a ways to go. So hopefully we don't get that far, and she will just come to a stop before then.
And now
she is on the 10 freeway.
Yeah, and we're starting the lane changes again. You can tell that it is starting to ramp up, and look at the speeds. That too. Thankfully, traffic not too bad at this point. But what do we have? One, two CHP officers
traffic
behind at this point?
Yeah, let me widen out and we'll count. Yeah, at this point it's still just two. with the police helicopter overhead. And you mentioned traffic. It really doesn't look that bad. So it looks pretty good headed westbound here on the 10 freeway as far as I can see. And I can see as far as the Fremont curve, and I can tell that everything between here and there looks pretty wide open, like what we're seeing here. And of course, the 10 freeway through this stretch does have those express lanes, so those are usually pretty wide open at this time of night. So if she just stays in those, she really won't have too much traffic ahead of her. And I mean, I'm just hoping at this point she either just stops or runs out of gas before anyone gets hurt.
Yeah, that's always the tough part about this, is you're just so fearful for the safety of others around this driver, and often there's just no regard for anybody else, as we clearly saw earlier in this pursuit.
Yeah, absolutely. When we first got overhead, it was such a dangerous chase because there was so much traffic, and this driver was just trying to evade the police, and it actually kind of worked because they had actually terminated the pursuit initially because of some of that erratic driving, but they eventually got a helicopter overhead instead, and that helicopter has been able to follow it this whole time until we just got those 2 units from the CHP behind the vehicle in El Monte.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm wondering why they decided to put the units behind, or maybe they just had the helicopter monitoring until they decided exactly what they wanted to do in this case, because as you said, it went from very erratic to not so erratic, so they need to have a game plan. So what are the options right now? Just continue to follow this truck? This was a stolen pickup truck. That's the want on it right now, and at some point, reckless driving.
Yeah, correct. Reckless driving, failure to yield, which essentially just means that they didn't stop. And then, of course, what is called a Code 37 in the LAPD, so that's a stolen car. So at this point, you have your regular pursuit intervention tactics like a pit maneuver. Is that possible? At this point, no. Ideally, for a pit maneuver, you want to be driving 35 miles an hour or less, and clearly this person is not. Maybe if she were to exit onto surface streets and could slow down enough, then that would be an opportunity. But for now, that's out of the question. There's spike strips, though. That's a possibility. They would just have to pretty much guess what lane is she going to be in order to be able to effectively deploy some spike strips in front of the vehicle. At this point, I have heard them talking about that as an option. So for now, all they can really do is just continue to follow her. By having the police nights in overhead and by having the police units behind her, at least that warns other drivers that there's a pursuit coming their way. And if you were to ever find yourself in that situation where a chase is coming right by you, the best thing you can do is just to safely pull over to the right and not to try to intervene. We've covered countless
Jamie, thank you so much for the 20. Thank you for the super chat. Says, hi, Mel. I just want to say thanks for today. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Make sure you guys sub up, and if you are already subscribed, double check that you are, because some people tell me they get unsubscribed. I've even had members tell me that they've gotten unsubscribed. I don't even know how you can be a member without being subscribed, but I've gotten messages like that before.
Clearly, at this point, we're just going to continue to follow this person at pretty high speeds now. Look at that. Approaching almost 95 miles an hour here on the westbound 10 freeway.
And that becomes the trick of all this as well, Eliana, because this driver is coming up so fast on unsuspecting drivers that it can be difficult to gauge like what to do in a situation like this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we've all been on the freeway when there's just a driver that just goes by us at literally like 100 miles an hour, and you're just frozen. Your whole car just shakes.
Yeah, car shakes.
Because there's nothing you can do. So that's the concern here at those higher speeds. And in an older car like this, you don't know how well it's going to be able to handle some of these speeds. Of course, there's all that stuff in the back too. Who knows if that could go flying? And that could obviously
we don't even know what it
someone.
is. You know, at this point. At least we can say that with the lights flashing, it's obvious to the other drivers what is happening here. So it gives them a little bit of warning that something is going on. I wanted to say we keep saying she because, Ileana, at some point we got a report that it was a female driver. Do you know how we got that information?
Correct. Yeah, I believe that was the initial scanner traffic on this, was that it was a female driver. But of course, the scanner traffic is just as the police officers are seeing it with the naked eye. So there's always the possibility that that could be misinterpreted.
He's pushing up now.
So initially, it was reported as a female driver. But of course, until this comes to an end, we really won't know. The other thing that they also were unsure of was how many people are in the car. Now, we saw her stop under the 210 freeway, just west of the 605, for a good minute. That would be plenty of time for anyone who was in the car to jump out.
Absolutely. So, even change drivers.
There's a possibility that happened.
Anything. Yep. Yeah, because we were wondering if maybe it was all going to come to an end, as we've seen many times underneath the overpass, and we wouldn't be able to see what was going on. But the vehicle did make its way back out, but we don't know what happened in that time. It seemed to take, quite a few seconds.
Off for a while. On and off. Oops.
Yeah, exactly. So that you make a great point. It could have been a female driver at some point. What if they switched when they were on the 210 freeway? There were no ground units behind the car at that time. It was just the police helicopter overhead. So they had the same vantage point that we did. It was literally impossible to know what was going on under that freeway. Perhaps it was nothing. She literally could have been getting directions just to figure out how to get back home. So it's really unclear at this point what happened when she was under there. But police from the CHP here continue to follow her on the westbound 10 freeway. But this is the portion of the 10 freeway that is further to the north of the section that is currently closed in downtown Los Angeles. So this stretch of the 10 freeway that we're at now is the part that is closer to County USC Medical Hospital.
Okay.
So it's actually, even though it is the 10 freeway, it's actually further north than where we have that closure. So hopefully she should be able to avoid that closure altogether.
The road is just so clear in Cali.
As workers, but one thing that we are noticing is that there is going to be some traffic coming up that is, of course, probably as a result of that freeway closure on the 10. So we'll see what she does when she gets to that slower moving traffic, because we know she does not like to wait in traffic.
No, the driver will do pretty much anything to avoid being stuck in traffic. And in fact, we have seen them get very antsy when they get boxed in, even for a moment, and have traveled on the side of the road and definitely want to get away. So we'll see if they decide to make any decisions here now to change, but not seeing the lane changes as erratically as we were seeing before. I mean, everything seems pretty calm, but here's more of that traffic you were just talking about.
Yeah, some more of this traffic that we've been covering.
And here we go. We just said, but
10 freeway closure.
Yeah, you were saying that they don't like to wait, and there they go, weaving, and they're on the far side now.
Yeah, right there in the center divider there. And that's always super concerning, because if you're broken down on the side of the road, if you have a flat tire, for example, that's where you would be. And you don't expect a vehicle to just come at you at 50 miles plus. So that just makes it incredibly dangerous. And of course, slow down here on, it's essentially going to be the transition with the 5, I believe, kind of where the 10 and the 5 come together here in the Boyle Heights area. So we'll see what freeway she ends up getting on. But for now, continuing to drive the center divider there, and finally moving back into lanes here, but police right on her tail.
Yeah, and does not like being behind other cars. Definitely will do anything to get out of that situation, and that's what makes it so dangerous, and that's what's led to a couple of those really close calls that we saw earlier.
Exactly, but CHP, they're
still somehow maneuvering, and he clipped some other truck earlier. I don't know why these people are so ready to get out. I mean, I don't know. Would I get out of the way? I think I blocked the shit on purpose. Fuck that. You know, when people are behind me, like riding on top of me, I get pissed, so I drive slower.
I believe his mission, but I'll let you know as soon as she completes.
I guess you don't want to get rammed.
I believe it is mission.
Yeah, look at all the cars that are just stopped on the side there.
How did they manage to get out?
I was wondering what that was all about. So we're going to continue to follow this right now as they come out. They're right on the tail. You know, possibilities, spike strip, all those things are coming up now at these slower speeds on these streets.
Yeah, and all of these streets are really slow, especially because of that 10 freeway closure. We have seen traffic here in the LA area be incredibly impacted by that closure. So not only is that having an impact on all of the other freeways, but it's also having a big impact on all of the surface streets. So I can guarantee you that if she continues to drive here through the Los Angeles area, we're going to see her get stuck in a lot of traffic.
All right, we're going to get ready for the NBC4 News at 7 coming up with Colleen Williams. She will be here to continue coverage of this police pursuit of a stolen pickup truck that we've been following since Hollenbeck took this over a little while ago. Reckless driving, and now 2 CHP officers right behind the driver, who we understand is a female driver who was wanted at first for reckless driving, but also now for this stolen pickup truck. So we continue now with the NBC4 News at 7 p.m.
Erratic. Oof. I have another live feed ready to go if they cut off. Yeah, but they're pressing them now. On top of them, smaller roads, cars getting out of the way. Is that the train track? Okay. Put this one on.
Yep.
Yeah, it does kind of. Ooh, that looks like she almost hit that car right there. She really is being very aggressive now. I mean, there's no doubt about it. These cars are trying to figure out, how do we get out of the way, because it must see police behind her. She is just going in and out. I would be so terrified if I were one of those drivers anywhere near this truck.
Yeah, it's scary because you hear the sirens and you instinctively want to pull over to the right.
Right.
But she's passing to your right, and so it just increases the risk for more collisions here. Now she's back to their left. They hear the sirens. They're pulling over to the right. They've got 3 units right behind her here, and she is in another major intersection coming up here at 1st Street and Hewitt Street. That's going to be another red light that she just blew through. Those 3 units going through the red with her, lights and sirens on. Pedestrians crossing the street as she makes a wild left southbound turn onto Central Avenue. Now in downtown LA, where the streets are much narrower, the buildings are much taller.
A lot of time with this downtown LA stuff, sometimes they'll go into like a big parking lot.
They continue this pursuit. If the speeds continue at this rate, they may let the helicopter do the work here, but right now she is really pushing it down a pretty empty Central Avenue, but you never know when somebody's crossing the street through this part of town. We're just entering Skid Row.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. And Chris, do they ever turn off this night sun, like really just go into tracking mode where the person doesn't know that they're being followed?
Right, so that would be surveillance mode, and that is another possibility. That is an option at their disposal if they just want to not spook the person and take some of the pressure off, but continue to keep an eye on her. Many of these helicopters are equipped with infrared technology, so even though they don't have the night sun on her for our advantage, they still see a very clear image on their screens inside the cockpit of her movements. California Highway Patrol does have that technology at their disposal. Right now, those 3 pursuing officers still able to keep a solid visual. Rob, help me out really quick. Are their lights still on, or did they turn them off?
I think the lights are still on.
I think they're off. So now they're following.
Thank you for the membership.
You see it right
they
there.
backed way off.
But
they're still following. But from
Moon Stone, thank you for the membership.
I saw some of, at least one of the patrol cars still had their lights on, but you're right, they really slowed down. And I mean, this driver, again, I'm going to keep asking you these questions because I'm sort of my head spinning on all the.
Oh, the wrong way.
Goodness gracious! This
threading the needle here on Central Avenue, Colleen.
Yeah.
This is scary.
It is.
A lot of rush hour traffic here on a busy Central Avenue. Another intersection finally coming to a stop for the first time.
She's behind the police officer, though. She doesn't know what to do. She's behind a police officer.
Another patrol car.
Yeah.
Look
Imagine
at
he gets
that.
out of the way.
Yeah.
No. The cop don't know?
He doesn't even know. That's an LAPD officer. He doesn't even know. He's not even aware, I don't think.
And
He
she's
just
like,
stopped.
wow, how lucky am I getting? Now I'm going to sit
She's
here and think
confused.
about what am I going to do? What do we do?
Bruh. Were they getting out?
Here, look, passenger door, front and rear door popping open. A passenger stepping
She's
out of
taking
the
her time.
vehicle.
2 people?
The driver coming out the other side. We're at Central Avenue and Olympic Boulevard.
Wow, what kind of mess is this?
Oh, no.
And a dog?
Another
Oh,
dog.
no,
Not the dog. Not the dog.
Look at this. They're running through traffic with the dog.
God.
They're running through traffic with those belongings,
Not the
dumping the
dog.
vehicle in the middle of Central Avenue, now running for it along Olympic Boulevard.
Do they really think they're
at
just blending
Central,
in? They gotta be high.
continuing Now down the
They gotta be
sidewalk
high.
Where we know for a fact law enforcement is close by. We have
No.
helicopters in the air. There are plenty of eyeballs on these 2 suspects. They will be taken down here one way or another in short order. But that dog, as you know, Colleen, is going to come into play here as they approach these 2 individuals.
And it's a very
I
large
suspect
pitfall.
they probably would have already done it, but now that decision-making is made all the more complicated by that large dog.
Yeah, and it's
This-
a large
what?
pitfall. Let's be honest. One never knows, you know, when you have a large German Shepherd like the other night, like I've always had German
Smoking.
Shepherds, they are intimidating. These dogs
Right.
are intimidating.
Oh, what a mess.
It's not a little Yorkie. So you're going to have some more consideration when you're a law enforcement officer coming to pull these people
They
over.
gotta be high.
And again,
There's
now
no
I'm
way.
thinking, why didn't they just let them go? If the LAPD was thinking of letting them go, you just don't know what these people were thinking of, why they tried to get away, and I'd hate for them just to let. Obviously, they're not going to just let their dog go because they're stopping to let the dog go to the bathroom. So they're clearly considerate of their animal, but I don't like to watch any part of
No,
this.
here they
Oh,
come.
Kelly,
Here they
thank
come.
you.
Here come those units.
I'm sorry.
And we will see
The
how this
suspect.
plays
Oh, I'm
out.
really sorry about
They're
that.
coming up ahead of her. I think they're well aware.
Things so tough right now,
believe.
too.
Well, remember,
my
this
money-
was this person the
Joe
driver?
Passer?
I don't know.
Yes, that
shit.
was the driver. That is
Bro,
the driver.
her heart's gotta be
It looked
pumping.
like, hard to tell, but it looked like a male passenger. Female driver, male passenger. Both grabbed their belongings, a couple of pretty hefty backpacks and duffel bags.
Oh, that's
and
concerning.
I've lost a visual of the passenger, but we're going to stay right behind. Over to the left, Rob. I think she's in front of the truck.
Yeah.
Is she under the tree? Under the tree. Okay.
Adjacent to
Behind the truck, under the tree.
I get
Behind
under
the
the
truck,
truck.
under the tree with the dog. Here comes CHP. They're in front of her, and I don't have a good here. Is that an officer? I can't tell.
I think that's
Spotlight
the
on
That's
her.
the girl.
She's on the
Okay.
phone, too. She
That's
called
the
the
girl.
guy?
She's on the phone.
Oh, Lord, they got her.
There's the dog.
Now the dog can get
Passenger and
stressed
driver
out.
together with
Oh,
the dog
they're
behind that truck.
oh,
Here comes
Lord.
another black and white under the tree here. We vehicle with their guns drawn.
Of course.
No?
No.
No guns.
Yeah,
oh, here's the gun.
gun
Okay.
drawn.
Put the dog-
Weapons out, pointed directly at those suspects, and now
They're
we'll
running to the
try
outside.
and get a better vantage point underneath
they're
this
running.
tree.
Yeah.
The
They're
guy
running.
left her?
They're
Is that the
running.
woman? What
Where's
about
the
the dog?
Running
This
without
one's
the
holding
dog.
Oh, great.
Running
Oh,
without
you
the
ain't gonna
dog,
get away.
2 officers in foot pursuit through traffic here.
Oh, my God,
on
that would've been
Olympic
hauling
Boulevard,
ass.
a very busy Olympic
Oh,
Boulevard.
oh,
It's
they got her.
bus right there, and
know if
now
it's-
she's
Oh,
being taken out
no.
of the ground. Look at this. The driver being taken out of the ground
Exhilarating.
by 2 officers, and we still have to look out for that
Yeah, imagine the
passenger
driver
and
here, too.
dog.
And the dog.
As soon as we
Front row
okay,
seats.
she's detained. Let's go ahead and just tilt up and see if we have any other activity behind that truck. I suspect
really
they may
want
have
to
caught
see?
up with him as well. It was right near that tree in front of the truck. I'm not sure if there were enough units to converge there. Only those 2 patrol cars, and they may not have.
There's the dog.
The cops have the dog. An officer with the dog, for sure. Okay.
The dog is not
We
going to leave their
believe-
owner. I mean, come on, we all know this. Most dogs are
Not
not
the
going to leave
dog.
their owner. It's just not going to be a
Oh,
willing
no.
thing. Mine would
So we can. Yeah.
drop down on the ground
Gotta
and
go
be
farming
like,
for the
"What?
dog."
No, can't go.
There is the
But what a good dog. I know, it's
passenger.
with the
Oh, it's the passenger.
He's just chilling.
Without the, okay, we
He
thought
needs
it was
to
an officer.
leave.
Okay, this is the passenger.
Yeah.
Another female. Is that a female?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
Jesus
another
Christ.
female. So 2 females.
She's who
this
we
is
saw
the
get out
passenger.
of the car and with the dog. No, did the
She-
driver have the dog?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, a little bit of confusion up here. That is the passenger with the dog. She's now on the phone, and now those 2 patrol cars are right next to her. So presumably, she may be willing to give up. Something tells me she may have had enough, and she is ready and willing to give herself up here.
What would she be facing? She's the passenger. I mean, at this point, I want to whisper in her ear, say, "You didn't know. Just keep you and your dog safe." Like,
I mean, she has
what are
plenty
you
of
supposed to
opportunity
do?
to walk away.
really?
I mean, she
Walk
now
away,
she's
man.
walking away.
Yeah,
the
but I
dog.
don't know how you get out of the car when you're scared.
back in the car and drive
the
off.
person driving so erratically. You just never know.
Well, It's also worth mentioning, we don't know if that person was being held against their will, or if they were a willing participant in that pursuit.
Right.
Those variables matter as
That's
well.
A willing
but now
participant if I ever
she
see
is
it.
indeed walking away from the scene here.
Maybe they're going to let her go.
James Bond.
Doesn't it look like
Splinter
they might
Cell.
let her go? Aren't we the only ones on her? Not we, but probably, you know, I don't see police walking over to her.
If I was me, I would not be turning
Police
back.
are making their way over here. Not quite fast enough, but they are making their way over here. I can confirm that there are officers making their way back over to this area. Do you see them, Rob? I don't.
I don't. I only see them going to the patrol cars.
Yeah, so somebody's near that patrol car. That would be one of the officers who will likely make their way down the sidewalk here. She appears to be relatively composed here with the dog, just kind of standing by and ready to cooperate. She appears willing to cooperate. She is guilty by association.
Right.
However, she has not committed any crimes that we have seen. This is, again, the passenger in that pursuit.
Yeah, and this is where we see, I just can't remember if she took the dog out or if the driver. So we're seeing them come out of the car, and it was the driver who took the dog out. So, I mean, I just can't stand it when I see an animal involved. They're really the innocent one.
The driver started following them.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. I really have a feeling that police are going to say, you know, we don't want anything happening to anybody at this situation. This person didn't do anything, and...
It's possible. Yeah, you mean just let the passenger go?
Yeah, let the passenger go, because you don't need a lot of fallout.
We heard them making their way over towards her on the radio, but they have had plenty of opportunity now, and I have not seen any officers as she approaches Central.
It's because of the dog.
Again,
that's why.
Yeah.
Those two officers are staying put with the driver, and that would coincide
Sarah.
with what you were saying, Colleen.
Well, you know, you don't want to make matters any worse. I mean, there's no reason to escalate it, especially since the LAPD was willing to let this driver go. So clearly, maybe there wasn't. They didn't feel like they needed to elevate things to pull this stolen vehicle over.
Did you bring a dog on the bus?
Stolen vehicle. Again, we're not really.
Damn, even the news people said we're going to give her a break.
That's all we know. It was a suspected stolen vehicle. So. But that would, you know, at least the driver's been pulled over. And it's unusual, though, to see two women in the truck and their animal. You just want it all to be done. I don't want to see. I don't want to see anything, and I'm sure that they don't want any fallout from something possibly happening if this passenger did nothing wrong.
They don't, but at the same time, you know, there's a lot of other factors here. We just don't know. We don't know, for example, is that stolen property that she's carrying? Are there any other crimes associated with this? Now, you would think by now they would have already approached her.
Yeah.
We are told that they were trying to, but in any event, you can see her now sheltering at this McDonald's, just kind of waiting by. We still hear them on the radio trying to find their way over towards her. Here's an LAPD unit now turning the lights and sirens on in front of the McDonald's, and maybe they're going to try and approach her now. We're going to stick with this because I feel like she's going to cooperate, but I do think
those cars won't get out of the way for the cops, but they get out of the way for the criminals. Look at that. If it was a criminal, these people would have jumped out of the way and tried to find a way, but because of the cop,
rules. However, she still is a witness to all of this, and even if an arrest on her part is just more paperwork for those officers, she still has information at the very least to provide and help them prosecute the case against the driver. So they've got to find out at least what the situation is if they can. And, you know, even the dog, we don't even know if that's her dog even. I mean, we really don't know.
Well,
save the dog.
I mean,
most likely
save the dog.
Yeah, most likely her dog. Just because it's wagging its tail and it's not acting nervous at all. But what I would be doing if I were her is put the dog around one of these tree trunks and, you know, put the leash it around there. So, and then she kind of stays there and lets the police talk to her and don't put the dog in any danger.
Here they come. LAPD now pulling up next to her. They're going to approach, and she's going to drop the leash. She did drop the leash.
She's like, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to drop the leash? They're like, well, we don't know the dog. Now the dog's going to get nervous, and now
this is
when it gets tense.
delicate.
But now the dog is scared because
let's hope she cooperates here. You see, they haven't even
the
drawn
dog
their
standoff.
weapons yet.
Dog hostage.
So that shows you we're back into another situation, not dissimilar to the pursuit last week up in Ventura County, where there was a large dog that they had to negotiate with. Now it's a pit bull who is standing right next to what appears to be the owner, we are presuming, and those officers trying to negotiate.
He looks like he has a weapon, or a less than lethal weapon, where he's...
There are weapons drawn, but they're approaching delicately, and now she's walking away. This is not good.
Well, that's on her.
I think she's
tie.
gonna
Not good, because now they
dog.
can't see her hands.
She's walking really fast.
This is not good.
I think she's going to leash up her dog. She's leashed up her dog.
Tie it up to the pole. Maybe they're asking her to do that, or maybe she's volunteering to do that.
That's what I would have,
Yeah.
Not that I'm going to be able to be the dog career criminal whisperer, but that you love your dog, you're going to tie it around some kind of area.
When it's Cesar Milan.
And hope it doesn't get out of its collar.
And they may just talk to her. They may not even execute an arrest. They may just take her in for questioning temporarily and see what her involvement is. Unlikely, but in any event, you just don't know. You just don't know. Because the fact of the matter is now, if she is taken in, now they have to call animal control or a relative and handle the animal. So at least the dog is safely tied up to the pole, and they can now talk to the owner and figure out the rest.
I'm not really, and I don't know a huge amount about, this sort of breed, but I have to say I'm so proud of this dog not turning around and barking its brains out at what's going on to its owner.
I used to have a pit bull, a complete baby, friendly dog, never bit anybody.
But
I know the
very
reputation
well-behaved little one, girl. You could see that she's had puppies, but anyway, it's sort of relieving because at least she's not upping the ante on barking and
So what happens to the puppy
being
now?
violent or scary, because that just makes it a whole different environment. It's like having a crying baby when you're trying to have a calm moment. So
right, yeah, it's a good analogy.
It's a tough one, but hopefully she cooperates and hopefully this is over pretty quickly. But she's pretty calm. I mean, she's certainly outnumbered, and it looks like they're about to take off the handcuffs. Maybe not, but it looks like it.
Potentially, I think you might be right here. Again, they may just talk to her as long as she's cooperating and has a reasonable story, I guess you'd say. But it's not lost upon these officers, though, that these two, especially the driver, albeit, but these two put a lot of lives in danger.
No kidding.
Over the course of this pursuit here. So this is not something that should be taken lightly, and they certainly don't want to make the wrong example out of them either. It's not the best practice to let suspects go, especially on live television, dare I say, but it's definitely something that requires some follow-through, even if as I said, even if it's just collecting a witness statement and giving her a citation to appear in court. It could be as simple as that.
Yeah, absolutely, and again, you're right. They definitely put a lot of lives in danger, and the whole situation's not lost on that. But it's curious why one law enforcement agency passes on the pursuit, and then another one uses so many resources to pull these two over. That's where the disconnect is, and of course we probably won't ever be able to understand why, right now they're paying, the city's paying or the state's paying so much money for the law enforcement to pull these people over when the LAPD decided against doing it.
Yep, a lot of resources dedicated. They want to get to the bottom of this. It was their pursuit to begin with. Now you have California Highway Patrol handling the driver over here, but this is a mutual effort between LAPD and California Highway Patrol. Plenty of paperwork for both agencies to complete tonight, and eventually they will sort this out and decide to hand this over to a prosecutor at some point. Now, what the future holds for her is quite honestly an open question. Does she spend the night in jail, or is she basically released in short order? It really is an open question, and it's part of what motivates some of these folks who refuse to pull over for law enforcement.
No doubt about it. Well, Chris, I think we're going to pull away from this pursuit, knowing that it seems like it has come to a peaceful resolution. And we will keep people informed. I'm sure you're going to stay out there a little longer. But as of right now, this has come to a peaceful end, and we will monitor it from above and bring you any new information as it may come in. But thank you again, as always, Chris Christie, reporting live from Air 7 HD. We are moving on to our other breaking news tonight. This is really big. Governor Gavin Newsom confirming that 10 freeway will reopen at the latest on Tuesday. And again, thank you so much for joining us as we stream live. I'm Colleen Sullivan. David Ono's off right now. This is Eyewitness News at 7, and we do have that break.
If there's any other feeds. I guess that's it.
Gavin Newsom and LA Mayor Karen Bass providing that update moments ago, I guess in the 5 o'clock hour. Eyewitness News reporter Michelle Fisher has more on what we're learning now about the fire-damaged freeway.
Things are now significantly ahead of schedule. The 10 freeway expected to reopen in
Well, thank you guys so much for watching tonight. Really appreciate that. It was fun. Had
64.
Pretty good
when you
day.
think of Class 4 64, what comes to mind? The traffic collision that occurred.
Had a pretty good day. So, yeah, if you guys can make sure you're subscribed, just double check, make sure you have all notifications turned on. Team Candace, you've been watching the whole thing with Ben Shapiro and Candace. Yeah, so turn on all notifications, make sure you're subscribed, because we'll be doing content on this channel, chases on this channel, and everything else on the other channel. And the night's still young. In California time, it's actually still young, so like, who knows? There could be another chase Thursday, hot nights for chases. So we'll see. I'm just gonna take care of a few things, and yeah, but I'll be here. All right, love you guys. Thank you so much. Let me see real quick too. I have the wrong thing open. Thank you for the new members. If I can pull it up. Oh, it's not working. No. And thank you for the super chats. Let's see, here we go. Heather, thank you for the gifts. I see you looking at Andrews. Thank you for the membership. Kelly Orr and Moonstone. Thank